We were just talking about the, for lack of a better word, the evolution of a songwriter and how you shift as a songwriter over the years. I just want to dive straight in with, I guess, one of the most well-known and loved songs of the Hoodoo Gurus, What's My Scene? That song begins with the most hook-filled opening line that just grabs you and pulls you in. And that's quite a gift when it comes to songs. Where did you get the spark for that very first line?
Actually, the song started really with the melody on the little guitar lick that you hear, that I sing along to. So I was... sorry.
Oh yeah, do you want to play it for us, Dave?
Sure, yeah, I think you know it.
We're going to make you work for being late.
I should forever be catching up. So basically, I'm just fooling around and I'm here, I think. And that's really loud now. So I was playing like a D chord. That sort of thing. You do all this stuff with D chords pretty easy. But anyway, I was just like, take a finger off, D chord with a little drop to me. I thought, well, that's kind of a nice little lick. What if I transpose it to another key? So try with an E chord. Same notes, and I go, well, where next? Sort of kind of, sort of natural sort of process of discovery. So that's how the melody sort of came around. And eventually, I don't know, it was kind of like, it became the other melody, which was the verse, and I just sort of heard that melody in my head. Which to me, the words have to have a marriage to the melody, so that sort of syllables sound like da 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 and another thing to me. Just that's what it sounded like in my head. So I started saying another thing, and then I thought, well, let's rhyme that and another thing. I've been wondering lately, because the melody. Let's rhyme that one too, sort of. Oh, baby. And I was kind of like, okay, halfway through a verse, and I didn't know where I had to go next, but, well, where have you been? And sort of pre-associated from there, and eventually I really found my theme, but the lyric actually just came out of the tune, and then I discovered my theme afterwards.
And discovered your scene as well. And a very,
Never
very big
my scene, unfortunately.
What did you do? I mean, I'm not a songwriter, obviously. I just critique everyone else's abilities. And I think these days, do you get online and find words that rhyme and use the online thesaurus and stuff like that? Did you ever use really dorky, dictionaries and stuff like that to find things that would work, the syllables that would fit the melody if you're writing to melody?
I do have the world's cheapest...
You have to use it.
Sorry, I have the world's cheapest rhyming dictionary. And it's so lousy, I have to keep on adding new rhymes that I think of along the way to sort of fill it in. But I hardly ever use it. Mostly you kind of, I guess everyone's tried the same thing where you're going like, B, key, D, E, F, 3, G. You try to think of every single syllable rhyme. So, you have your own sort of rhyming dictionary, but it's a little tool, but, generally speaking, the ideas come first, and then the sort of the rhyme, you can figure it out later.
Yeah. What about mistakes? When something comes around that throws you off your course and then it turns into something that's worked better than it ever could be. Has that happened a lot in your lives? Happy mistakes?
Sometimes when on the piano, because that's where I do most of my writing, well, all of it, except for one song. Sometimes you might try to land back on the E flat and you miss it because you forgot, and you make something sus, or you pedal something and it's kind of, that's cool, But and so in terms of little detours and interesting musical harmonic evolutions within songs, I've found things to be accidental just because of my lack of facility on my instrument. But in terms of whole songs, nah, not for me.
No, I'm the same. I think not really whole songs, but every now and then I'll make a mistake when I'm looking at the details of a song and trying to find a segue or a bridge or something, and I sort of won't be concentrating, and I'll sort of hit something else and I'll go, oh, you know, and I guess that's the closest that I come to making mistakes when I'm writing, really, that I use. So it's, I don't know, yeah, not really.
But writing is mostly, for me, it's mostly about manufacturing or manifesting something that I'm already thinking of. So if something is not in line with that, it just goes, you know?
How often have you written a song in your head, thought about what you want to write, and it's come out exactly that way as the end product? Is that a rarity? Mick?
Hang on, how many times?
Is it possible to recreate what you hear in your mind
A few times.
in the real world?
I think a few times, yeah. I've actually, because when I actually, as I explained earlier, I'm not technically kind of not a normal songwriter as such. So if I'm actually writing lyrics as well, it's quite unusual for me. So the few times that I've said about writing a song about a particular thing and it's come out exactly as I wanted it is, you know, there's been a few times, I think. It's a fraught process, you know. It's hard to achieve that perfection. I think part of the whole process is just keeping on doing it and producing things, because you have to produce a certain amount of work to get the gems out of there. Then you always have to keep working with what you've got. It's part of the process, and only going through that and working through the time makes you realise which were the really good bits and which were the lesser bits and all that. That's all part of it. So
You sort of touched
you have
on
to
that
live with
earlier.
and love all your mild failures as well.
You sort of,
As you go along, because it's really part of the thing, you know.
well, when you were talking about the Mercy Seat, you touched on that being bits and pieces and almost like a collage
Well, that's how
of
it
other songs.
came together, like it was like a montaged piece.
Do you or anybody else on the panel mine old songs for new songs often? Do you have bits and pieces lying all over the place?
I think you can't avoid them, really.
How far back have you gone with a new song? Have you really reached back into...
I don't think it's so much actually source, like taking from them, but you hear it is, you know, it's there anyway. I mean, how many chords are there? So, you know, you kind of hear them going by, and then you're careful not to go too close to that direction sometimes, I think.
For me, it's always lyrical. Like, there's a song of mine off my last record that's called Limitless, and there's a line in it that says, there's a certain sort of lonely where you sleep in your jeans. And I wrote that line in this terrible song that I wrote, you know, 3 months before I wrote that one. And I just wrote this really indulgent, boring ass piece of shit. And I gave it to my producer and he was like, interesting. But inside this song was this great line, and somehow you just don't feel satisfied when a great lyric exists in a terrible song. It can't save a terrible song, one great lyric, I think. And so when we were writing this other song, I was like, this song is awesome. I'm going to use this awesome lyric that I wrote that I know is good because I feel it, and put it in that song, and then no one ever has to know that I was terrible, you know what I mean? So I do cannibalize, I guess, like the weak ones to feed the strong ones.
Choose your favourite children.
They eat themselves.